So there's this bit of Christian propaganda titled The Thaw, which seeks to thaw out America and bring Christ back into places where Christ was so wrongfully taken away. And this bit of crap was done by the same people behind the website letsreachamerica.org. Now what this propaganda amounts to is essentially a bunch of kids, teenagers my age, going like, oh, well, why don't we have Christianity in here, and in here, and in here, where it supposedly belongs? And I'm here to shit on their parade. So you can find this video in all its glory in the description down below. But unfortunately, you can't comment or rate on it because they've disabled ratings, comments, and therefore video responses, just like all cowards who can't take any sort of criticism. With that out of the way, let's dance, shall we?
Christianity is being completely frozen out of America.
Good. Honestly, I feel that Christianity has way too much power, especially in North America. And it has for the longest time. I don't care if atheists get the power, or Muslims get the power, or Jews get the power. Just as long as someone else gets a turn on the throne, I think I'm okay. Honestly, out of all three religions, Christians, at least in my opinion, seem to have the greatest sense of entitlement. And therefore, to me, they are the biggest hypocrites of them all. But hey, if you don't believe me, keep on watching.
Why can't I pray in school?
Of course you can pray in school, you absolute dipshit. You always had the ability to pray in school, you were just never forced to pray. And that schools aren't allowed to enforce mandatory prayer on everyone. Now, if that's your contention, if that's what you want, to force your prayer towards your God on everyone else regardless of their beliefs, then I'd have to say you're quite the moral monster, aren't you?
Why do I have to check my religion at the door?
You don't! No one forced you to somehow abandon your beliefs as soon as you walk through the school doors. You can still walk through the school doors as a Christian just as much as I can as an atheist. It's just not mandatory for you to be a Christian or an atheist or to even care about this shit. Now, if you want to make a big fuss about how not everyone is Christian anymore, then you can go fuck yourself. As for checking your religion at the door, you realize that most schools have world religion class, right? And even for the ones who don't, they have some form of multi-faith club. My school in particular had not only a multi-faith club, but one dedicated solely towards Christian prayer and Muslim prayer. So, unless your contention is that your school was different, somehow shutting out all forms of Christianity in the most Christian place in the world, then I'm going to call bullshit on you.
Why can't I write about God in my school papers?
I wrote about God in my school papers. In fact, my grade 11 essay was all about religion and why I thought it to be dangerous and unnecessary in the world. And if I can write about how religion is dangerous and unnecessary, I'm pretty sure you have the same right to write about how you think religion is the best thing since sliced bread. Of course, as I've mentioned before, we're not expected to write about religion.
Why do I have to tolerate people cursing my God, but I am not allowed to talk about God and my faith?
Of course you could talk about God and your faith, sweetheart, but the moment you start saying stupid stuff like, oh, well, fuck all gays, they deserve to go to hell because my God says so, then you can expect a lot of backlash, especially from atheists like me.
Why are they taking God out of my history book?
Because he doesn't exist.
Why do they teach every other theory in science except creation?
Because creation is a sad, willy-nilly, pathetically put together excuse for a scientific theory I've ever seen. And if you knew what science even was, then you would be inclined to agree, even if you were Christian. See, the very idea of creation goes counter to everything we know about science. Confirmation bias? Check. Completely questionable research methods? Check. Double standards with evidence? Check. Unverifiable in every sort of way? Check. You name it. Creation falls into every single pitfall that the scientific process tries to eliminate. The reason we teach germ theory or the theory of gravity or the theory of evolution in schools is because they have established facts to support them. Now, the moment a creationist comes along and brings a peer-reviewed paper on creation and is shown not to be biased in any sort of way, then we'll talk. But until then, I'm not holding my breath.
Why am I called names because I believe in marriage the way God designed it?
Because you're a fucking idiot. Marriage existed long before the advent of your religion, and therefore, if your God really did create marriage, it really wouldn't matter, now would it? Besides, I'm pretty sure half of the people in the video that you're in right now are wearing mixed fabrics. So why aren't you wearing clothes the way God designed them to be, unless you yourself are a hypocrite?
Some even call us hateful,
hypocrites,
unloving,
closed-minded,
bigots.
And this is possibly the most frustrating part of Christianity, is how hypocritical they are. You know, Christians spout all sorts of crap about atheists being evil and immoral and how gays are an abomination to nature, and yet when we point out that they wouldn't want those things said to them, they wouldn't appreciate being called an unnatural, immoral, evil bastard, they wouldn't appreciate being preached to constantly when getting an abortion, which is an already traumatizing enough experience, and yet when we point out how close-minded, hypocritical, and assholish they are, oh, well, you just are all hateful, and you're just trying to silence me and my free speech. Well, fuck you! You can keep your free speech, but I have every right to call you out on your shit, and you better not complain. It's like you go on and preach all this fucking shit, and then when we call you on your shit, it's like, oh, well, I'm being called a bigot and all these mean, horrible names just because I tried to shove my religion down other people's throats. Like, fuck you.
In public school, I'm called lesbian
or gay.
for not kissing or for wanting to save myself from marriage.
Well, guess what, kiddos? That's the fact. Kids are mean. They find things to pick on, and, well, if you want to save yourself from marriage, that's something they're gonna pick on, okay? For me, I was being called gay all the time because I look effeminate and because I'm short like a girl. So you know what? I had to deal with that shit. So do you. It's not because you're Christian. It's not because we want to pick on you because you're a Christian. It's because kids pick on kids. That's just the way things are. Deal with it.
In public school, people are rude and disrespectful towards Christians.
When a Christian wants to talk about atheists and gays, oh, immoral, evil, spawn of Satan, you're going to hell unless you buy into our religious crap and donate a whole bunch of monies into the coffers. When we atheists go, you're fucking idiots for believing in that shit. Oh, well, you're being so rude and disrespectful and forcing your beliefs on us. No hypocrisy there.
What we see in our health classes,
Sex education
4th grade and up.
is pornography.
Because those abstinence-only programs have been clearly effective in stopping teenage pregnancies, right?
People make fun of me because I don't believe in abortion.
Sweetheart, if a guy raped you on the street and traumatized you for life, and you weren't allowed to get an abortion, I'm sure you'd change your opinion pretty quickly. And you wonder why we find you an idiot for not believing in the right to get an abortion?
Despite modern popular belief, America was founded as a Christian nation.
Ha! Yeah, right. You know, most of the founders were either atheists or agnostics, right? And even those who were Christians respected the right to keep religion and state separate. As it clearly states, I don't know, in your constitution?
my grandparents tell me that the church used to be the center of the community.
The church also used to be the center promoting slavery, aristocracy, and the divide between the rich and the poor, in addition to the endless amounts of corruption that happened within the church itself. So, yeah, just the good old days, huh?
America was once a force for good.
Oh, I like what you're implying, good sir. You're implying that America was once a force for good, as if only Christians and Christianity stood for good. What a load of shit.
What happened?
In 1962, the Supreme Court ruled that prayer was unconstitutional in schools.
In 1963, the courts ruled the Bible unconstitutional.
Saying that if the Ten Commandments were read in school,
A student might feel inclined to follow them.
Really?
Why don't we get the Muslim religion into schools? And why don't we just get the Quran read out loud? And why don't we follow the rules set out by the Prophet Muhammad? Oh, wait, not so gung-ho about that, now are you?
Jesus said we are salt and light.
Salt and light melt ice.
It is time for a thaw.
You know, when Jesus said Christians were like salt, he wasn't kidding. Especially like Christians like you. Because salt does one thing very well when rubbed on a paper cut or any sort of injury. It adds insult to injury. It hurts even more. You know how Christians go to abortion clinics and make the women there feel like shit when they already feel like shit having to get an abortion? How Christians make gays an already very much bullied and ostracized minority feel even more like shit just because they are gay. Yeah, you Christians are definitely like salt.
we are an army.
Christ is our commander.
His will is our charge.
We are impacting our friends.
Our families, our community,
Our state, our country.
We are in a war for the hearts and souls of our generation.
And we know it.
Failure is not an option.
We are going to win this war.
If God be for us, who can be against us?
the thaw has begun.
I think it fair to make a similar call in arms to my secular audience, especially to those who are around my age. People still in high school and university who have to deal with this shit on a daily basis. I call to you. Are you going to sit there and watch as these so-called Christian warriors for God take over every single aspect of your life and shove their religion down your throat and your jacksie so hard that you'll be forced to recite it every day and night 24 hours a day? Or are you going to fight for your right to believe or not believe whatever the fuck you want? And even if you are a Christian, even if you believe in this stuff, which would you prefer? If you honestly looked at it from an objective point of view, if you looked at it as if you were an atheist, or Muslim, or Jew, and some other group had the majority of power in this country, which would you prefer? Would you prefer to have your right to speak against that power? Would you have your right to believe whatever you want, even if it was different from the majority who holds power? Or would you rather be ostracized and punished for being different? So, what's it gonna be? May the truth always be heard.